Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. I hope you like and subscribe. Part two to a video I just put out a little while ago about the current strike that is taking place at Collins Correctional Facility, the medium security prison, and Elmira Correctional Facility, which is a maximum security prison. Approximately 75 employees and civilians are protesting dangerous work conditions inside of the prison. Well, dangerous for the prisoners is what I should say. As a former prisoner myself, I do not advocate for prisoners or for officers. As I always explain, I look at situations and then look at the circumstances of that particular situation. So we're not discussing the behavior of prisoners or officers in general. We're discussing them related to this situation. What's very funny is that Collins Correctional Facility last week tried to pull the stunt, as I said, about two inmates that they found, about an inmate they found with a cell phone. And then they claimed that the prisoners took over three dormitories and barricaded themselves in three dormitories, which we came to find out was not true at all. When the commissioner of the Department of Corrections had to testify, he said that is not true. We were first told that officers were injured, and then they were back on the job 60 minutes later. So it turned out to be something that really didn't have any solid evidence behind it. It was more so, from my opinion, which I stated, that the reason Collins Correctional Facility created this big incident that they contacted the media about was because of the grand jury meeting in the death of Robert Brooks. I felt that they wanted to psychologically influence the public and make them believe that the prison system was so dangerous, to take their minds off of the grand jury and create or fabricate or boast a situation that was really a small situation and make it seem much bigger, as I said, to influence the thinking of the public. Right. It was also a way for them to request 2,100 more correctional officers that they feel they should have. Then everything goes quiet. The truth starts to come out. We realize the situation wasn't that bad. And now, the morning that the indictments are supposed to be unsealed in regards to the Robert Brooke murder, they decide to strike on the morning. They have postponed the opening of the indictments on the Robert Brooks murder, which was supposed to be disclosed today. They have pushed to Thursday, citing weather conditions. Can you believe that they have used the excuse of weather conditions to not unseal the indictments on the officers that killed Robert Brooks? But that's what they did. And in coincidence, the two prisons go on strike today, Collins and Elmira. So there is so much nonsense and so much misleading from the Department of Corrections that it's pathetic. They really are pathetic. I'm really upset that they pushed off the opening of the indictments on these officers today. Many people are waiting for those. Weather was definitely not the issue. You understand? Because there's not even severe weather out there. So it's really, really ridiculous. But these two prisons are on strike now. They say because it's unsafe conditions. It's unsafe for the prisoners. That's who it's unsafe for. Okay. The correctional officers and their beat up squads are now coming to light via YouTube, via the internet, via Google, via technology, right? This was behavior that correctional officers displayed for decades, if not a century, in being abusive. Okay. This is a part of human nature, unfortunately, as we get into the topic of what happens when you give people power, of what happens when you give people a gun and a badge, of what happens when you give people power over a minority, right? If you imagine that how state officials and government officials treat people in society, take advantage of people in society, manipulate people in society, imagine how bad they do it to prisoners. Because in the eyes of the average person in society, prisoners are animals. prisoners are pieces of garbage, right? And no one is really concerned with the abuse that's taking place to prisoners. Now, a lot of people will say, well, they're a prisoner, they're paying for their crime. I understand that. I understand they're prisoners and they're paying for their crime. They're paying for their crime by being incarcerated. That's how they're paying for their crime. Their freedom was taken from them. They were removed from society. They're put inside of a cell, locked in there with limited access to food, certain foods, limited access to certain medicines, limited access to their family, limited access to the phone, no access to freedom. That is their punishment for committing a crime. The punishment is not to be further abused by correctional officers. I'm not standing up for the prisoners because I was a prisoner. What I just said to you is logic, is common sense. They are serving their time and they have been deprived of many things because they are convicted felons, and that's fair. What's not fair is officers abusing their authority and mistreating prisoners mentally, emotionally, and physically. And so the guards are saying it's an unsafe environment. That's what they signed up for, to be correctional officers. They have a very good job. They get a good salary. They get tremendous overtime. They get sick leave. They get vacation. They get full benefits. Their families are covered with insurance. Their children are covered. They have a good job. There's risks with any job. One of their risks is working with felons, people who committed crimes. Now they're saying it's unsafe. What the hell did you think you were signing up for? To work in Disneyland? You get paid well and you got a good job. I said in many of my other videos, most of them don't have the interpersonal skills to even possess this job. But back to the topic at hand. Elmira is on strike. Collins is on strike. We'll see what happens. It's against state law for them to even strike. Because they're on strike, they're supposed to be fired right away. And if Governor Hochul had any set of cojones, she would tell the officers to get back in there, get to work, secure the premises, do your job, or you lose your job. Right? So this is what's going on in the two prisons. This is what's going on in the Robert Brooks indictment, right? The criminal justice system doesn't know what to do because their dirt is coming to light. That's what's been happening, is that their dirt has been coming to light over the past couple of months since the Robert Brooks beating. They did it one too many times. When I was in Attica, I saw them beat a few people to death, not just one. They beat a few prisoners to death during my 6-7 years in Attica. Now, I don't know those exact circumstances or situations, right? They would always beat to death the person out of view of everyone else, but their abusive behavior is something that has been consistent in the Department of Corrections. And until cameras get put in all the prisons, in all the areas, until the officers are required to wear body cameras, until they until they make it mandatory for officers to be schooled in social work and some therapeutic type of classes or degrees, this will continue to happen. I am not saying that the prisoners are angels. They do some bad stuff. One of the hardest parts of doing time for me was living with the majority of prisoners. That says a lot. The officers weren't a major problem for me. During my time, there were more than a handful of officers who went out of their way to harass me. There were more than a handful of officers that went out of their way to even set me up. I was set up by a few officers in there, and it was an alarming to me because I carried myself pretty correctly in there. But you always have those officers that go out of their way because they have a hate in their heart. Those officers exist. But doing time with the prisoners was very rough. They didn't have a lot of morals. They didn't have a lot of values. They didn't have a lot of respect. And so they were an issue as well. Not all of them. This is the thing about life. Everyone is different. There's good officers, bad officers, good prisoners, bad officers. But as I always say, what we're talking about are these circumstances right here. These guys need to get back into work, man. They have a good job. They get paid for it well. They get well taken care of. And what they're trying to do is take the light off of the Robert Brooks murder. right? And they want more correctional officers to be hired. They don't like the fact that they made cuts. That's what it is. And they want as many people as they could get. So in those small upstate towns, they could get all these people employed. That's what this is about. The prisons, what if the prison is done? Why are they standing outside the prison? They're saying they feel unsafe. What was the incident today or yesterday that made them feel unsafe? That they are now out? That's a good question to ask. They decided this morning to picket outside of the prison and go on strike because they feel unsafe. So, what is the incident that made them feel so unsafe that they had to go outside of the prison? Are they going to create another one? Are they going to talk about the one they fabricated 2 weeks ago with Collins Correctional Facility that made them feel so unsafe? Did a prisoner with a cell phone made them feel so unsafe that they had to picket? Come on, give me a break. These guys are full of crap. They're full of crap, right? So don't let the media persuade you and make you feel that these officers are truly unsafe because of the prisoners, the big bad prisoners, right? The big bad prisoners haven't done anything to make them feel unsafe recently. There's been no major problems, right? This is all about something else. This is all about something else. It's called psychological warfare, my friends. So that's a little update about what's going on. I will keep you posted.